unsolved case of teenage beauty queen Bronwynne Richardson is one of the greatest murder mysteries in Australian criminal history. A case so cold, it's been in the deep freeze. Millions of dollars spent, years of failed police investigations, vital evidence lost. Her family desperate to know who killed 17-year-old Bronwyn.
Just approaching the front door now.
Colin Michael Newton.
Yeah.
I have a warrant here for your arrest for the murder of Bronwynne Richardson.
Oh, bullshit.
These are the known facts. Shortly after 7 on a Friday night, Bronwyn was forcibly abducted off the street and driven to a remote spot just outside Albury, where she was raped, strangled, and then thrown in the Murray River.
Never murdered no one. Oh, they just arrested me for a fucking murder.
What you face right now is the fact that you are the prime suspect in the rape, abduction and murder of Bronwynne Richardson.
In over 4 decades, Colin Michael Newey has never spoken publicly. I was there for his only interview, watching his body language, analysing his answers and prompting crucial lines of questioning.
When you talk about Bronwyn, that's when he's most uncomfortable.
Did you love Bronwyn?
No, not love as in love.
Anything to do with Bronwyn is making him really uncomfortable.
Did you kill her?
But Colin Newey is not the only potential killer. Before she died, Bronwyn was being stalked by someone else. There is another prime suspect.
Who do you suspect?
Ex-boyfriend.
Jeff Brown.
Yeah.
Oh, it's you.
Just a jealous bloody boyfriend.
I did not make any phone calls to threaten her.
And what did he say in those phone calls?
Bronnie, you're going to die.
He was stalking her. Jeff Brown was stalking her.
Yes.
She was fighting for her life.
He had marks all over his face.
Would you be willing to voluntarily give us a sample of your DNA?
No, I don't.
2 men. 2 prime suspects.
The test will now begin. Were you present at the time of Bronwyn Richardson's death?
You've never put rest in peace on Bronwyn's grave.
It'll never go on until somebody pays for her murder.
Justice for Bronwyn.
Justice for Bronwyn. That's the only reason for doing this.
Woke up in bed alone, start my day. Picked up the telephone, sky was grey.
Oh, is that the one?
But I know
Yeah, could be.
that the sun still shining on my face.
See, they look like twins there.
But I'm not.
Bronwyn Richardson was beautiful, inside and out.
Oh, my gosh. No, that's everyone's favourite picture. There's the watch.
The watch that stopped at 7:26 on the night Bronwyn was murdered, leaving her family devastated.
All I remember is she was there and then she's gone. And that there was a sense that there was a real darkness.
A sister and daughter. A free spirit taken too soon.
To come and lift you up.
Bronwyn grew up in a large family in a small country town. Stan, her dad, was a bus driver. Kathleen, her mum, had her hands full. Bronwyn was one of 6 kids. She had 2 brothers, 3 sisters, and a cute puppy.
Look at this. It's another dog that thought it was human.
Fiona was the baby of the family, 4 when her big sister was 17.
She would take me on dates, so she had a chaperone. I just went everywhere with her. I just trailed behind her.
Did you adore her?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And life was good.
We were both marching girls together, and she's a lot of fun. Beautiful. As you can tell, with all the sashes she ended up with, I only got one.
Keep me in mind as you walk the world and find our love.
The sashes were for beauty contests.
She'd walk in the room and everybody turned around and look at her. Like she had this air about her that was absolutely magnificent. She was a really beautiful looking girl.
People were attracted to her through her beauty and just her appearance, and she'd won the showgirling corridor, and that was a big deal in those days.
Bronwyn broke more than a few hearts. And one of them belonged to Jeff Brown, who she met when they were both at the same high school. Brown was 2 years older.
We're girlfriend, boyfriend for roughly 12 months.
Bronwyn's mum was less than impressed.
What are your memories of him when he came by?
He was always quiet. In fact, it was unnervingly quiet, and he didn't like me.
21st of the 3rd, 1973.
After a year together, Bronwyn broke up with Jeff as she confided to her friend Kerry.
Hi, Kerry. I suppose Jeff told you what I did to him. I do like Jeff, but I don't love him. Dig?
So he took the breakup badly?
Yeah.
By his own admission, Jeff Brown suffered a nervous breakdown after the breakup. His behaviour prior and his actions that evening
Do you want to go for a spin?
have been re-examined by forensic criminologist Dr. Xanthi Mallet.
He was pretty much self-confessed obsessed with her.
Being young, 18, 19, and then her splitting up with him and her moving on and getting on with her life so quickly without him, he just didn't cope.
And Bronwyn did quickly move on. She moved towns, left school, and got a job on the Coles checkout in Albury. And she fell in love with a strapping shearer called Mackie O'Brien.
Oh, that was Mackie.
That was Mackie, yeah. He was absolutely besotted with her.
He was 23, she was 17. The night she died, they were going to a dance. The next day, Bronwyn was due to compete in a showgirl competition.
Showgirls was her life. She had a new frock to wear on the Friday night, and that didn't come into being because somebody took our joy from us.
In this investigation into the savage rape and murder of Bronwynne Richardson, forensic criminologist Dr. Xanthi Mallet examined the street where she was abducted, visited the scene where she was killed, and the site nearby where Bronwyn's half-naked body was found.
I think they saw a young woman, vulnerable, took advantage, egging each other on. They probably didn't mean to kill her initially, and then got carried away.
Dr. Mallet reviewed the multiple police failures and studied the eyewitness accounts.
It's the person. Get the fucking car.
What are you doing
Because
here?
in this case, there have been 2 prime suspects.
Cut! Okay, swap actors, please.
Jeff Brown, Bronwyn's ex-boyfriend who was obsessed with her, and Colin Newey.
Right, so we're going to go same again, only this time when you look in the car, it's not the boyfriend, it's the cousin.
Sure.
Okay.
Who, it's alleged, was equally obsessed.
Slate.
There was a ringleader that night. Someone who egged his mates on to join him in one of Australia's worst unsolved crimes.
Hell, Colin! What are you doing? It's got kind of remnants of Anita Cobby. You've got a young woman, a beauty queen, who's abducted, and there's that kind of pack mentality. There's probably a leader amongst them who's come up with this idea, and the rest of them are kind of either going along with it or egging him on. It's the thrill, you know? It's the thrill of the hunt.
If not for a series of unfortunate events, Bronwynne Richardson would never have been waiting on Smollett Street, Albury, on the night she was taken. Her scooter had broken down, and the car belonging to her boyfriend, Mackie O'Brien, was off the road being repaired.
Mackie was having a bit of a bad run with trying to keep his car out of the panel beater shop.
So Mackie arranged for his best mate, Charlie Kerr, to give Bronwyn a lift home after she finished work.
On-call sort of taxi driver sort of thing at the time. There's nothing worse than your best mate in the back seat of your car with your girlfriend, and you're there doing the chauffeuring around, you're on your own. But yeah, anyway, unfortunately these mongrels up there put an end to all that. Bastards.
The plan was for Charlie to pick her up, then drive to her flat so she could get the new dress she bought for the dance all three of them were going to that night.
She probably would have finished at 5:30 the time she cashed up, probably 5:45 by the time she came out.
She finishes work, crosses the road, and comes and stands over by the church. For about the first half an hour, one of her new colleagues from work is with her, and she's waiting for longer than she expected because she's getting a lift with her boyfriend's best friend, but he's running a bit late.
In fact, very late. Charlie had been seriously delayed at work. Bronwyn waits for over an hour. 7 o'clock passes, and there is still no sign of Charlie, but he is on the way.
It was a definite arrangement. There was absolutely no problem with that. I just, you know, was running late.
At 7:20, Charlie turns up, but Bronwyn is nowhere to be seen. The last known sighting by an eyewitness is just before 7:15. Charlie Kerr missed Bronwyn by a handful of minutes. Since then, he's lived with the torment of not knowing whether she'd still be alive today if he'd arrived on time.
No, it's bringing back a lot of terrible memories. Especially when you know, you don't know whether, had I picked her up, whether this terrible thing might not have happened.
Several people witnessed Bronwyn waiting on the street just prior to her abduction. Some recall a car driving past her at least twice, and the driver beeping his horn both times. A little later, railway worker Wayne Leach is driving slowly down Smollett Street looking for his girlfriend, who he's arranged to pick up. He's almost at a dead stop when Bronwyn walks in front of him and crosses the road. Wayne then sees a car with at least 4 men inside screech around the corner and pull up beside her.
When the car pulls up, she approaches the car. Like I thought, well, she must know who they are. Then she looks in the car and she sees the driver. As soon as she sees the driver, she said, "Oh, it's you."
She's leaned in and said, "Oh, it's you."
Oh, it's you.
Get in the car.
Oh, it's you. She says, "Oh, it's you." Very significant.
Yeah, she clearly knew at least one person in that car.
And then the fella that was in the passenger seat gets out.
Get in the car. Get in the car!
What the hell?
You bitch!
All I heard him say, "You bitch." And then the bloke threw her in and boom, they're gone. It happened that quick. It was over in seconds.
And there's signs that she struggled.
Yeah, so shoes been left, handbag. So she's fought. I know she would have fought like a cougar just to get out of there.
Get off me! Shut up! Stop the car! It's certainly more evidence that she didn't get into the car willingly. You know, she's leaving her belongings behind as she's dropping them as she's being dragged into the car.
Xanthi, can you time it? Let's see how long it will take.
Okay. Right. All the evidence says that it was somebody local that she knew. They went straight to a location because within minutes they'd sexually assaulted her, murdered her, and left her there. They knew exactly where to go, where they could have privacy and weren't going to be disturbed.
I don't know whether she would have realised exactly how much danger she was in.
But she fought.
Yeah. She would have really fought by the time they took her to Horseshoe Lagoon.
And where is Horseshoe Lagoon?
Just outside of Albury.
And then they do what they do.
Mm.
Oh, we're very close now.
Okay. So that took us exactly 6 minutes. 6 minutes, 10 seconds now.
To get here.
It's completely remote, isn't it? In the dark, like this.
Grab this leg. You want to grab it.
Absolutely frenzied attack that just lasts not very long at all.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Very violent, frenzied, and fast, yeah.
She had no hope.
She had no hope.
No.
Some details of Bronwyn's sexual assault and murder are too graphic to report. She was shown no mercy.
The things that are done to her was not very nice. And once you find that out, that's another thing that you can't erase from your mind. Yeah. She was apparently alive when they put her in the water.
Still alive.
That's what the pathologists believe, that she actually went into the river alive and was then held down by her neck and actually drowned as a result. So compression on the neck.
There is a tragic and heartbreaking twist to Bronwyn's final moments.
Bronwyn's parents were driving past as the attack happened.
Yeah, they actually saw the lights and didn't realise what was going on, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't. You'd never get over that, would you, knowing what was happening as you were driving past?
I remember that night because we were going to Auntie Gwenny's house for birthday.
The headlights of the car were shining onto the road. And I made a comment.
What was the comment?
That guy's fishing late.
She said something and I've looked over.
So you saw the lights as well, that car?
Just pitch black, just the round headlights.
You often think back on that,
Yeah,
that moment?
what if we'd have stopped? What if we'd have gone and investigated, but we didn't?
But almost certainly that was the car.
Yeah.
And they were the people that killed your daughter.
Yes, yeah, undoubtedly.
What happened later that night? You were called by the police. Is that true? About the handbag, is that correct?
Yes, they
What happened?
said the handbag had been found in front of the Catholic church. And they gave it to us. It was about 10:30, I think, that night. Never thought a thing about it other than, we were going to say to her, we found you first. And they'd tell her where it was. And of course, she never came home.
If you look at the time, it all happened so quickly.
Yeah, she was, seen in town at 7 o'clock, around 7:15. She's abducted. By 7:26, her watch stopped. She actually gets sand in her watch, so at some point during the attack, that gets damaged. We're talking 10, 15 minutes, that's it, between being taken in town and being killed.
It's Bronwyn's watch.
Yeah. Because this was on her when she died. probably wearing it on her wrist when she was fighting for her life. But it was left, and it was left for us to find so that we could continue to have this with us always, and it'll go down to every girl and it'll remain in the family. The only reason they took her life was because there was more of them than her. It's the only reason, because she would have been too strong for just one.
By Saturday afternoon, police call in volunteers and a search begins.
A person's gone missing, and can you search the river? What you sort of learn to look for is the upper back and the head, but the head will be always down a little bit.
At 9 a.m. the next day, at a spot known as 4 Mile Reserve, Barry Pumper and a colleague find Bronwyn floating in the water.
We sort of looked over on the willows and seen something there, and we thought, what's that? Virtually both seen it together.
Your first thought was?
We found the body.
This place is where the body is found. So what does that mean happened to Bronwyn's body during the course of that night?
Well, it would have floated down the river and become hooked. So she was probably killed about 100 metres upstream, where you can access the river more easily, and then is floated down here.
We got the body up on the bank and rolled the body over. And what I seen, I didn't like it. This girl, something had been done to her, what I seen. Something. That's what sort of sticks in your gun a bit about what would be my daughter. So I went home. My wife was out the front. She seen me. I said, we found the body. And I just kept walking down to the swings, down the back. And just sat on the swing, just thinking, what a bloody waste. What bastard would do this?
She wasn't found till round about 9:30. And I think I screamed all the police station down. I can still hear my screams, and I still have problems at night. Sometimes I wake up screaming. It doesn't matter whether there's anyone there or not. I don't know.
How were you told?
I think Dad may have, when they got back, come and told us that she had been found and she was not alive.
I think the most vivid memory is of the day that she had the funeral, and I cried. I screamed because I wanted to go and I wasn't allowed.
Fiona was only 4 years old and considered too young to go. But pupils from Bronwyn's school and half the town did attend.
On Bronwyn's grave, there's no rest in peace. Why is that?
Because she can't rest in peace, because the killer or killers have not come to justice.
It'll never go on until somebody pays for her murder.
No matter how long it takes.
That's right.
After Bronwyn's body was found 100 metres downstream from Horseshoe Lagoon, where she was raped and murdered, it's fair to say the New South Wales Police made a number of critical errors.
If anybody saw anything strange or unusual during this period, we would appreciate them if they would come forward.
Among their many mistakes, a key eyewitness to Bronwyn's abduction from Smollett Street was ignored for weeks, then months, then years.
I'd just keep ringing, and all the time they said, oh, Smollett Street's got nothing to do with it. We want to know what happened after that. So I said, oh, well, that's it.
An innocent man became a suspect, in the frame for murder, for the crime of running late to pick Bronwyn up.
They had me in the gun. I was pretty well aware of that. They gave me a pretty good grilling over it. They asked me if I did murder, and I said, no way, no. No.
And jurisdictional politics in the border towns of Albury and Wodonga, divided by the Murray River, meant the investigation was slow off the mark.
It took 3 days for the police to come from Sydney. Victorian police were only allowed to go up to the Victorian border.
Which, Bronwyn's sister fears, may have given the ringleader and his accomplices the opportunity to cover their murderous tracks.
We don't know whether they went back in between the Friday night and the Saturday, so they could have gone back and cleaned up a lot of evidence. I don't want to tarnish every individual officer, because that's not fair. But in those early days, if they'd had a level of concern and commitment that this was a serious matter, then maybe things would have been different.
The fuck, Jeff? Don't touch me! Hands off me, Jeff!
Her shoe had actually come off during the assault, and that was actually pulled off, you know, the cars are out here, but the shoe is quite a long way into the road.
DNA evidence has gone missing. They just never took it seriously.
Very quickly, Bronwyn's parents urged police to investigate her former boyfriend, Jeff Brown.
What is the reason why Jeff Brown's involvement is so significant?
His involvement was significant because of his behaviours leading up to her death after they broke up.
How would you describe it?
In today's terms, it would be stalking.
In 1973, Jeff Brown was interviewed twice by police, but since then, on legal advice, he's refused all further attempts by them to speak to him about Bronwynne Richardson's death. Until, that is, in 2009, when detectives turned up on his doorstep. This is the actual audio.
Yeah, g'day, how you going? Vicky, is it? Yes. How you going? I'm Leanne Wiggins. I'm a detective with the Unsolved Homicide team at Southern Region. I was just wondering if we could speak to Jeff, please.
Can you just wait?
I certainly can.
How are you?
Yeah, g'day, Mr Brown. How you going?
You've been harassing me. I didn't kill the girl.
How did he respond when Bronwyn broke up with him?
Not good.
What did he do?
Just following her. Everywhere we went, you'd look around and he was there.
He would either call or he would be parked outside the house So there was that worry and concern.
There's information that you allegedly went through a period of following her around.
Because I was in love with the bird. I sat out there, I loved the bird.
So it obviously did hurt you, the
It
breakup.
hurt me.
All right, well...
It was the first girl I ever went with. It hurt me. It really hurt me. And I tell you now, I did not make any phone calls to threaten her or anything. I can tell you that right now.
He also used to ring up on the phone and threaten her.
What would he say?
Bronnie, you're gonna die.
Bronnie, you're gonna die.
He would ring and just threaten that she was going to die.
Jeff Brown said that?
Yeah. And that's when she reported it to the police, and they said, we can't do anything. He's got to harm you.
She was going out with other people.
That enough to make you want to go and kill her?
No way.
He was just a jealous bloody boyfriend.
On the night she was abducted, Bronwyn fought back. She resisted. She punched and scratched.
She scratched at the face.
She scratched at least one of her assailants.
Hold it out.
A day or so after Bronwyn's body was found, Jeff Brown went to work. He was a truck driver at a local haulage company where Harry Bedell was a mechanic.
He came into the workshop and he was standing at the end of the pit. I fronted him. I said, what the hell happened to you? And he said, I got in a fight with a friend.
Why did you say that?
Because he had marks and all over his face and that.
Did they look fresh, the marks?
Oh, yeah, they were fresh at the time, yeah.
But there is no mention of injuries to Brown in the 2 statements police took from him in the days following the murder. The doctor who examined Bronwyn collected a range of forensic evidence to help identify her killer.
During the post-mortem, they took fingernail clippings and there were skin cells under those fingernails. So,
which means?
Well, which means that if they could take the DNA, if they could process it for DNA, which we could now, they couldn't have done in '73, this is pre-DNA.
Yeah.
But now, if we had access to those samples, you could actually match it to an individual.
What happened to the samples?
Well, unfortunately, they've been lost in the interim.
Lost?
Well,
Lost.
yeah.
This is a failure in the police case.
Well, yeah, we don't have access to those samples anymore, so unless they can be located, then we have no chance of finding out whose DNA was actually under her fingernails.
Compounding this failure, police also returned most of Bronwyn's clothes to her mother, who, in her grief, got rid of them.
Yeah, gone. Nothing.
So more forensic evidence lost. There is one sliver of hope. In the future, as forensic science advances, it may be possible to test for minute traces of the killer's DNA on any remaining items the police still have. Jeff Brown, who maintains he is an innocent man and has been harassed and victimised by police, was asked this question in 2009 by homicide detectives.
One of the reasons that we're here is I'd like to offer you the opportunity to provide us with a voluntary DNA sample for comparison purposes. Would you be willing to voluntarily give us a sample of your DNA?
No, I don't.
To this day, Jeff Brown denies being in Albury and denies any involvement in the murder of Bronwynne Richardson. And this is why. On the night Bronwyn died, eyewitnesses saw him drinking in 2 pubs well away from the town. One before her murder and the other after she was killed. Brown's alibi is that he was nowhere near the scene of the crime. But not everyone's convinced.
There was a discrepancy in the timeframes that he'd given in his alibi, in the time he'd been at the pub, the time she'd been taken.
At 6:15, Brown was seen at the Walla Walla Hotel, 38 kilometres from Albury. He's not spotted again until 8:10 p.m, almost 2 hours later, when he's seen in another pub in another town. That 2-hour gap is critical.
There's a period between 6:15 and 8:10 where Brown can't account for his movements. And we have to remember that Bronwyn's abduction occurred somewhere between, say, 7 And, you know, we know that the watch stops at 7:26. So within that period, Brown has no alibi.
Did Jeff Brown have enough time to travel from Walla Walla to Albury, pick up accomplices, and then abduct and kill Bronwyn before driving to the Burrumbuttock Hotel 42 kilometres away? These are the results from the police test when they drove the routes Brown allegedly took. From the Walla Walla Hotel, where he was seen at 6:15, it took them 27 minutes to drive the 38 kilometres to Smollett Street, where, at 7:15, Bronwyn was abducted. So time enough for him to get there. At nearby Horseshoe Lagoon, where Bronwyn was murdered, her watch stopped at 7:26, suggesting she died around this time. When police did the drive from the Horseshoe Lagoon to the Burrumbuttock Hotel, it took them 30 minutes. Meaning, so long as Brown left the murder scene before 7:40, he had more than enough time to get to the pub at 8:10.
Dad even did that trip. Dad did that trip, drove that trip, just to prove. And I can remember the police threatening to arrest him if he didn't stop interfering in the investigation. And by interfering, it would be stop doing that.
Yet it's your father who finds Bronwyn's shoe,
Yeah.
who finds the drag marks on the road from where she was taken.
Yeah.
And you're saying he was threatened?
They told him that they would arrest him. They were animals. And we had nothing. We had no police support, no grief counsellors, no female police. A young girl is taken, abducted, raped and murdered, and not one officer is female. All the way through to get to Linda Summers.
At lunchtime, the day after the program, from this payphone in Murray Bridge, South Australia, an anonymous male caller rang the local police station at 12:23 p.m. A case so cold it had been in the deep freeze was about to get very hot. A young police constable called Paul Friend was in the lunchroom when he answered the phone.
Police station.
I'm ringing about the murder of Bronwynne Richardson in Albury, New South Wales.
What do you know about it?
Because I was one of the ones that was there at the time. There were 4 of us there.
There was no time to record the call, but these are Constable Friend's detailed handwritten notes of the conversation.
Where did this all happen?
In New South Wales, at a place called Horseshoe Lagoon.
Did any of you know the girl?
Yes. Brown was her boyfriend.
The caller rang twice, but refused to give his name both times. The South Australian Police sent an urgent report, including Constable Friend's notes, to their New South Wales colleagues, who then did precisely nothing. Months passed, and the file sat neglected and unopened.
How do you explain that?
The detective's office that I was a member of was not known for, how should we say, its professionalism.
Linda Summers was the first female detective ever posted to Albury. It's fair to say she wasn't part of the boys' club. When the report her colleagues had ignored came to her attention, Detective Summers immediately grasped the importance of that call.
My view is that the person who made that call, provided those details, must have been present at the scene.
What she did next was proper detective work, for which she would later receive a police commendation. Summers trawled through years of arrest records and began to match the nicknames and surnames used by the caller. She narrowed it down to a list of 4 suspects. The person Summers believes made the call is Ross Eames, who was 2 months short of his 15th birthday at the time of Bronwyn's murder. The others named as being in the car were Kevin "Puppy" Newman, Mad Max Martin, and the ringleader?
Brownie. His surname was Brown.
Brownie, or Jeff Brown, who it's alleged met the other 3 at this Albury pub shortly before Bronwyn was taken.
And Bronwyn, we know, his former girlfriend, is 400 metres down the road.
His former girlfriend, who he is obsessed with, is 400 metres that way.
Thanks to Linda Summers, for the first time, detectives were able to piece together the possible events leading up to Bronwyn's abduction, rape, and murder. A timeline that begins with the arrival in Albury by train that day of a violent 18-year-old thug called Max Martin, who'd been released from Goulburn jail earlier that morning.
Max Martin arrives at the train station after being released from prison around lunchtime.
Yep.
Then they all meet later in the pub. So that's Martin, Brown, Newman and Eames in the pub drinking together. And they all get in the car around 6 o'clock. They don't go straight down the road, but they go for a little detour. However, around 400 metres that way is actually where Bronwyn is abducted.
When interviewed by police, both Ross Eames and Kevin Newman confirmed the story from the anonymous caller. On the 19th of February 1990, Jeff Brown was arrested. On the day of his committal, both Newman and Eames, despite being given indemnity, refused to testify against him. No evidence was offered, and Brown was discharged.
So your hopes were raised?
Yep.
Your hopes were dashed?
Yeah.
Why? Why did they do it?
Though he remained a person of interest, Jeff Brown walked free. To this day, he says he's innocent. He says he was set up.
Like I said, there's more than meets the eye in this case. There's a lot more than meets the eye.
But why would the men who were there that night frame somebody who wasn't? It's the twist no one saw coming.
Why would I set him up? Why would I set him up?
And revenge may be the key. Next time on Murder, Lies and Alibis.
This is the bit that everyone's going to want to know.
He's never spoken.
You know who the killer is?
Yes.
Until now.
I boy, he killed her because he had to.
This has got to be told.
You're saying that he was there at the rape, abduction.
You got bloody nothing.
They knew they could solve it.
The murder of Bronwynne Richardson? Oh, bullshit. It's all hearsay.
You were obsessed with her.
She knew him more. She seen his face. I'll take a lie detector test. You got one? Yes. Set it up. Come on, set up. Come with me.
The dramatic conclusion.
Were you present at the time of Bronwynne Richardson's death?
Yeah, I've got no doubt. No doubt. Why would I kill her?